And welcome back to the previews. All right, so we're at Arizona today, and I put a logo up on the board today you guys haven't seen before. So you may see some stuff you haven't seen before. And Arizona's an interesting team to look at due to the fact that they haven't had any success in quite a while. And Coyotes fans are kind of feeling antsy about getting some success on the ice, and at least they finally have a decent owner off of it. At least it would appear that way. And by decent, I mean he's got the money and he seems to have some sort of a plan that'll make things work where hockey's being played right now. And I say that knowing that Glendale likely isn't going to be where this team is permanently. I'm still stunned by the Glendale City Council meeting that they showed on TV live up here in Canada with the vote about whether or not to keep the team, and them going, yeah, we'll keep paying for it. I was like, wow, this is, they're interesting. Uh, it's a shame we didn't have a big channel back then for that live stream. That would have been fun. Anyways, the season that just passed, they had 86 points, which is modest for most. It's great for Arizona. 2017-2018, they had 70 points, the same total they had the year before. 78 in 2015-2016, and 56 in 2014-2015. This past season, they scored 213 goals, which was 27th in the NHL. There were some prickly fans that weren't happy with me when I would talk about their lack of scoring and how I felt that really hurt them. But when you look at their goals against with 223, which was sixth overall in the NHL, the reason they didn't make the playoffs is scoring. And you can look and you can point at injuries, which definitely has something to do with it. My problem was that even healthy, I didn't think this team was necessarily a playoff team in the West. But we may very well see this year how things turn out, as long as, the health bug doesn't bite them again. End of October, they were 6-5. End of November, they were 11-11-2. End of December, they were 17-20-2. End of January, they were 23-23-4. So unlike previous seasons, they didn't have this big drop-off. The 2017-2018 season, of course, they were winless at the start of the year for about a month. And everything was wrong with Arizona, as I had said in the video at the time. January 23-23-4. February 31-28-5. March 38-33-8, and at the end of the year 39-35-8. So it's not a great record. They won less than half their games, but it is a great improvement over where they've been. And really honestly, as I have written up over here, they desperately need the playoffs. They really, really do. Their MVP for this coming season, I put Darcy Kemper, although if Antti Ranta's back to full health, they'll likely split the net about 50-50. I still think Ranta's probably the better goaltender. Kemper had an amazing year. He really did. But for me, Darcy Kemper's still better suited as a backup over being the starter. Last 5 years, no playoffs, of course, and they haven't been in the playoffs since 2012. It has been a long time. So they need to get back. Players that are gone, Alex Galchenyuk was traded, and Richard Panik left as a unrestricted free agent. So let's take a look at the roster. And again, these are not projected lines because we know they're going to change. We know things are not quite going to be the way that they look on the board, and that there's other guys who may force their way into the lineup that may not be listed. So with that said, let's get into it. Christian Dvorak, Michael Grabner, Connor Garland, Lawson Krause, Braden Burke showing up on the left side on their depth charts. If Grabner's healthy and if he can score 20, then that helps tremendously. And I say it like that because I don't know that Grabner can hit 20 again. And I'm not sure about him being healthy for a full season either. But both of those things would help. Dvorak really needs to add some more offense to his game as well. There's a lot of good young talent here. Connor Garland being a good example. A guy who comes up, plays really, really well, very impressive, signs an extension, and then he went really quiet for a while. So we'll see how real Connor Garland's offensive streak was and just how much of a force that guy can be. Because if he can play top six and bump Grabner down to the third line, you might have yourself a pretty good top six. Down the middle, Derek Stepan, Nick Schmaltz, Carl Soderberg, of course, who was added from Colorado, Brad Richardson, Barrett Hayden, and Nick Merkley. And the one that's very interesting here is Barrett Hayton. I can't see him not being on the roster. That being said, since he's a rookie, he's listed as a center, could very well end up playing the wing. Brad Richardson, very unlikely to score as many goals this year as he did last year. Last year was one of those weird, strange things. So I would expect Richardson to fall back to a more standard 10 to 12 goals kind of range. And Soderberg, pretty good pickup for them. But again, there isn't anything down the middle that I look at and say, yeah, this team can really stand up against some of the better center depth teams in the league. I don't see it. That being said, on the right side, they have a pretty solid right wing. Phil Kessel, Clayton Keller, Vinny Hinostroza, Christian Fischer, and Michael Chaput. Hinostroza showed last year, yeah, he can play top six. Keller had a setback last year. Keller's numbers took a step down in most areas. And so this year is going to be a big one for Clayton Keller, where we're going to see whether his rookie year was indicative of how he's going to play from here on, and it was just the sophomore jinx, or if year two was a warning that maybe his offensive totals aren't going to end up being what was expected when he joined the team. Kessel's really the guy who's going to make this decision as to whether or not this team is better. Kessel, a lot of his points were on the power play for Pittsburgh last year. So, yes, he scored a ton of points. A lot of those were power play points. And he's got to show that he can play 5-on-5. I know he can. And if this team is going to turn it around, if they're going to change this 27th in goals for narrative, they need goals out of Kessel. By losing Galchenyuk and Panik, they lose about 35 goals. Now, Kessel himself can make up those 35 goals. Now, he wasn't doing that in Pittsburgh. He wasn't being counted on for goals. He's going to be counted on for goals here in Arizona. He doesn't have a Malkin to pass it to. He doesn't have a Crosby to pass it to. He doesn't have a Jake Gensel to pass it to. He has this mishmash of forwards who are hard workers, but that top-tier offensive talent is debatable. And I understand there are some young guys coming up. You have Garland, you have Dvorak, who I think can get better, and of course Hayden, who I'm kind of looking at and saying, is he going to make the team or not going to make the team? But really, Kessel is not playing with the kind of offensively gifted players he was in Pittsburgh. That could hurt his totals. And if his goal scoring goes through the kinds of droughts that it did this past season, then Arizona's in trouble. On the blue line, they're solid and unspectacular. Ekman, Larson, and Demers, Chikrin and Hjalmarsson, Goligoski and Osterley. That's a pretty good top six. But again, not spectacular. This is a competent six defense unit that you can have faith in to keep you in games and to maybe win you some games. But there is no really big, and I know everybody loves Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I like Ekman-Larsson too. But in general, when you look at this defensive group, it's not up there with the best in the league. So what we have here is we have a team that Rick Tockett's able to get to 86 points last year with the way he coached them, and he's probably going to have to work some of that magic again. The biggest question is going to be the goaltending. Antti Ranta, his health. Darcy Kemper, can he follow up the season he just had with another excellent season? If he can, let's just say for the sake of argument that Darcy Kemper at the end of October has a batting average, a goals against average of about 2.2. I've been watching some baseball. 2.2, 2.3. You may see the Arizona Coyotes saying, hey, we may be able to move Ranta. Because Aiden Hill, when he gets called up, plays pretty well. He seems to be better at the NHL level than the AHL level, which is strange, but it does happen. So there may be some reason here to believe that at some point this season, they may have to make a decision about which goaltender stays and which goaltender goes. They could very well go 1A, 1B. But if this team is struggling and looks like they're going to fall back into this area, it would be tempting to move one of those goalies if you feel Aiden Hill is ready to play full-time. And that's going to be the big question with them this year for me, is that position of strength. Do they eventually exploit that and use that to make a trade which helps a part of their roster where they need that help? Now, goals, I expect Phil Kessel to be their best goal scorer. This was a team that did not have a 20-goal scorer last year. None. So I expect Kessel to at least score 20. I expect him to score probably 25 and push it further than that. He is going to be counted upon, not like he was in Toronto, because he's not going to get that kind of pressure, but he is now a leader on a team, and he's got to be that leader, and he's going to have to take that into everything, from practice to how he handles interviews, to all of this stuff that he's been criticized for in the past. It's going to be very interesting to see how he handles this season. The dark horse for me is Connor Garland. Can Garland come in and score at a 20-goal pace? Can he be that top six forward that he gave hints that he could be last year? Or is he going to be just a middle-of-the-road type guy? On the what about listing, I have Brad Richardson only because he's been pushed down the list now of forwards, with Soderberg being brought into the middle. So is Richardson a guy they may at some point have to move to the wing? Or is Richardson going to end up being a guy that they see as expendable at some point? The trade bait, though, the one that I've got listed as trade bait, is potentially Michael Grabner. Because if Garland takes that next step, Krause showed some potential as well. Grabner may very well be a player that they can trade without a whole lot of fear of it coming back to bite them, if Grabner's not showing signs of taking that offensive game back to where it was. They are going to be a very interesting team to watch. Likely finish. I'm not putting down an exact ranking for them, but I see them as a complete wild card, complete and total. They could finish, in my eyes, as high as 4th or as low as 8th. This is a team that it could be crazy, because there's enough doubt for me with the ability to generate goals to make me think this team could have a really tough start. But it is so well coached, and they improved by 16 points last year. I could see them being 4th. That's where they finished this past season as well, and of course they missed the playoffs. So I don't necessarily see them as a playoff team, but I still see them as competitive, and I'll be very interested to see if maybe Merkley makes a run at the roster. Kevin Ball is saying all the right things about trying to make the team. Ilya Lyubushkin as well, and Kyle Capobianco I've thrown on the board as well. Osterley, I like him a lot, but I could see Lyubushkin pushing him out of a job. And so it's going to be a very, very interesting season for Arizona, and let me know what you guys think. Can this roster get into the playoffs, or is it just who cares who's on the roster? As long as you got Rick Tocchet behind the bench and you've got Ronta or Kemper in net, this team will have a chance. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just tap it upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.